Hey guys, happy Friday. Good afternoon, and we're glad to be with you on the Service Without Excuses podcast. I have somebody I've been trying to get for a long time on the podcast since I started this, and we've been going back and forth. He has an insanely busy schedule, but he has built up one of the top companies of this type of the cleaning and disaster restoration industry in the northwestern part of the country, for that matter, not just where he's at in Seattle. But his story goes back to a very humble beginning. He came from a different industry altogether that changed overnight, and he had to adapt and change with it. He was able to take an old truck, if I'm not mistaken, and a piece of old equipment and fix it, repair it, get it going. And that's around 2007, 2008 or so. Since then, he's grown into a gigantic enterprise, for that matter. And want to welcome our guest today, Mr. Ben Surdi from Seattle, Washington. You're outside of it. How are you, my man?
I'm doing good. I appreciate you having me on the show. I'm glad we were able to finally connect here.
100%. And Ben is a very busy guy. But Ben, please tell our listeners a little bit more about yourself.
Well, yeah, like you said, my name is Ben, and I guess I could start at the beginning. Because it ties into mindset, which I think we'll wind up getting into a little bit in this conversation. I grew up in Woodinville. My dad was a self-employed window washer. And the thing about me when I was growing up was I got in trouble a lot. And when I say a lot, I mean like I got suspended from elementary school probably 30 or 40 times. When I went to junior high school, I got expelled when I was in 8th grade because I was just kind of one of those troublemaker individuals. I got arrested probably 40 plus times between the ages of 12 and 23. Spent a lot of time in jail. Had a pretty rough outlook on life. Just the way that I viewed things was out of alignment. But because I got suspended from school so much, I wound up going out in the field with my dad. And so just getting that firsthand exposure to what being a self-made person was, what the responsibility was, what communicating with customers looked like, is where I got that. But, after I got expelled from junior high school, I got sent away to a disciplinary program where I spent about a month and a half in the Boundary Waters of Minnesota. And after I got back from that, I got put into high school. I got kicked out of high school, and I didn't graduate high school. I got my GED and launched myself into my adult world. But man, the mindset, the mindset was very broken. I had a big chip on my shoulder back then that I just thought, police are always after me. I'm always, attracting negative things towards me. And I think it's funny how what you think about most often really winds up creating your reality. You know what I mean? So I got into the mortgage industry in 2008, where I was like, all right, I'm gonna get my money game going. I was pretty confident, in that aspect. I'm not gonna go into too much detail there, but the long story short of it is that I did pretty well in the mortgage industry, but I wound up losing everything in 2008. Losing everything meaning losing my cars, losing the house that we had built. I was feeding my son out of the dumpster of Central Market. I mean, it had gone down to a very, very dangerous place for me. And that was really when the pivotal moment occurred for me, where I had a child, I had responsibilities to my wife. And I remember sitting there and just really stressing out, where I couldn't believe that I was where I was, you know what I mean? But I only had one choice. And so I never thought that I would be a carpet cleaner. You know what I mean? I grew up doing that with my dad. And of course you're like, oh, there's no way I'm going to be a carpet cleaner. You know what I mean? I had pride of being a white collar guy and putting on a suit and, but as I was sitting there on my couch, my wife's like, why don't you start? We were trying to think, how do we get money in the door right now? Like right today, right now. We needed money right now. And so we were sitting there and she's like, what if you start a carpet cleaning company? And I was like, oh man, okay, I'm willing to do whatever it takes, right? I will do whatever it takes. So my dad had his old carpet cleaning truck sitting in a used car lot that he owned. He owned a car lot at that point. He'd shut down his company many years prior. But he had this old truck. It was a Dodge Express van. It was all rusty. It had a Pro Chem Legend in it, which you're probably familiar with those are.
Very.
The heat exchanger was broken. It was spraying water all different orifices. And man, I took that truck and my dad gave it to me. He's like, you can have it. It's not worth anything. You can have the damn thing. And I created a company. I created a company called Northwest Green Clean. And I was going to focus on green carpet cleaning and focus on, the all natural thing. And dude, it was game on from there. I would go out in the pouring rain. I live in Seattle, for those people that don't realize, so it rains a lot here. And I just went out in the pouring rain every day. And my rule of thumb was I would not come home until I made money. And that was a very, scary feeling, because you wake up that morning, you hop in your shit bucket truck, and the negotiation was, do not come home unless you made money that day. And so I just started knocking on people's doors, and my whole pitch was that, my name's Ben, and I provide the most thorough cleaning you'll ever see. I understand I need to earn your business, though, and I'd like to ask you a question. And then say, what's that? I'd say, I'd like to ask you if you'd give me the opportunity to clean 100 square feet in your carpet, in your home, so that I can show you how your carpet will respond to my technology. And if you're as impressed as my other customers have been, I'd like to give you an estimate for cleaning the rest of your carpet. And then, and I was good at building rapport with people. So they'd say, sure, come on in. And I would do that. So that turned into doing, one job a day to, 2 jobs a day to what it is today. I want to make sure I don't ramble too much. I want to give you an opportunity to ask different things, but I just got heavily committed to succeeding and not giving myself an out, and kind of reprogramming my subconscious, my mindset, what I believed could be accomplished. And today I live my dream life right now. So
That's awesome, man. And it's through a lot of hard work. So I'll show you, talk a little parallels. I had a business I was just explaining to you in Pennsylvania, and I built it up to a little over $2 million a year. And then I got divorced. And getting divorced, they've always said it's cheaper to keep her. It is always, for the most part, financially cheaper to keep her. It is. However, it wasn't meant to work out. And I call it marriage with business, because it is something, even though she had her own career, I had to make that jump. So there's people in life that want to sell and had to sell, and I had to sell in order to settle things. So that thing just crushed me, and I was left with pretty much less than nothing, owing money, starting over, going to New York, not being from New York, but going to partner with a friend of mine, and starting from scratch. The one thing that you just kept talking about that's a commonality between that you and I share a lot is they can't take that away. If you can do it once, you can do it again. You were successful, as you said before, in the mortgage industry. You were successful building that up. It's not the easiest industry. Number one, it's highly competitive. Even back then, it was still regulated. It had a lot of pitfalls to it. But you still made a success out of it, because you're willing to do what it took to make it work, because you had nothing, no safety net. You flew without a net. You didn't worry about what you didn't have. You didn't have it. So you took that mindset and said, you know what? I have to make it work. I have all these things going on. I have all these obligations. I have a family to support. I have all these things I have to do. You made sure that you just took that mindset and said, fuck it, I got to get it done. I got to make sure it works. I got to make sure whatever I do produces. And you didn't come back, like you said, without bringing something in. So that's the same fisherman mentality. Fishermen don't go out until they come back with fish. They don't go out to say, hey, it's a nice day. Let's go drink some beers with the boys. It's nice, but that's not why they fish. They fish to feed their family. And that's what you did. You did what you had to do to make that grow. That's a success mindset. You can't, that doesn't get taken away. That doesn't change. People don't lose that. That's the most valuable asset you have. There's a saying that, you could teach somebody something, but you can't teach them common sense. Having that sense of that is just like having common sense. You can't teach it. It's either in you or it's not in you, and you're willing to activate it or you're not willing to. So please continue.
Yeah, speaking of drinking, you just said go and have a couple beers with guys. Part of the story that I didn't share is that I was young. I started a company when I was 21 years old. I got married young. I had a kid young, but I hadn't given up the whole drinking deal. And I was a big partier, as you can imagine from my background. That was kind of who my identity was. But I got a DUI. My third DUI I got when I was 23 years old. And my company had been pretty well developed by that point. I had employees. I had all this stuff. Well, I had to go to jail for a year while running my company and be running it from the phone and running it through. I mean, it was a very, very challenging time in my life. I had to go to drug treatment, like a tremendous amount of drug treatment and AA meetings. And the point is there was so much being thrown at me saying, stop, 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 give up, throw in the towel. But here's the thing. As a man, and I think you'll agree with this, it's our duty and it's our obligation and it's our responsibility to be successful. That is what our job is. Our job is to go out and hunt. And so it's interesting how the world throws so many different obstacles out at you. And it's continued to happen throughout the last 15 years where, man, the most crazy things will be thrown at you. And you think about it, you're like, I don't know if I can do this anymore. I don't know. This is too much. It's too stressful. But it's funny that if you just push through, if you get through that little uncomfortable blip, you build callus and you just become much more strong-willed. The willpower is tremendous when you build that up. So, yeah.
I think you become more resilient. It's almost like to be a good boxer. Listen, anybody can throw a punch, okay? Any good boxer. I had a good friend that was a Golden Glove, and I know this. The best boxers are not the ones that can throw the punch. They're the ones that could take the punch. They're the ones that can take the beating because they can still get back up. Yeah. You could be the biggest, baddest person with the biggest arms and the hardest shot and be able to throw something down and knock somebody out. But if you can't take the beating, you're done. And I think business, I think life in general is no different than how many punches you can take. And yes, it is life experience. I had run companies for other people, large franchises for 17 years before I ever went into business for myself. I had a great education. I went to Steve Toburin's Strategy for Success. Yeah. And Steve's like, we have this guy, he's been doing this, he run these companies, he grew all these companies, this is great. Yeah, but I had never run a business, my business.
Yeah.
I'd certainly run it for other people and understood the logistics of running and managing a large operation. One of them was, I think, $10 to $11 million a year. You understand those dynamics, but I did not know how to open my door. I did not how. So of course, what do? You start writing checks, and I run the Yellow Pages. Back then it was Yellow Pages, and you can remember this. You write a check and you pray. And I've talked about this with a bunch of people, including John Braun not too long ago. You do these things because you go, this is what you do in a big company. Well, that's the big dumb company mentality. You just do that stuff not thinking, oh shit, how am I going to survive? How am I going to make this thing work? And you pray. Now the leveraging is way better because you have the internet, which helps leverage things tremendously. Reputation, online reputation, experience, a lot of things that we can use today. I wish we had back then. But if you don't utilize them like you're doing, it would mean nothing. So if you didn't get out of it and say, listen, one day I got to make a conscious decision. I can't go down that path. I can't go down the road anymore. There's nothing to that. I have responsibilities, but more importantly, I have the biggest responsibility to myself, responsibility to say, I got to make this shit happen. There is no excuse, not to pardon the Service Without Excuses podcast, but it literally is, there's no excuse. There's no bullshit. There's no safety net. There's nothing there. You either make it or you don't. You fly without a net. I did a podcast yesterday and I recorded before we talk, and it's an entrepreneur versus a business owner. You, my friend, are an entrepreneur. This is why every time I watch your growth, I watch you're dipping you're looking at this. You're looking into this type system. You're looking into expanding into this type of market, all related to what you do. But that's an entrepreneur. A business owner would be a person just says, "Hey, I'm cleaning carpets out of the old truck.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll have 2 or 3 other trucks. Maybe I'll have a general manager and 10 trucks." Still a business owner because he's solely focused on the logistics of running a business. He is leaving well enough alone, which is something you can't do as an entrepreneur. You can't just let it go. You have to go, okay, I got to try it. And if I fail, fine. I could deal with failure. If you're successful as an entrepreneur, you've dealt with failure many, many times. And if anybody can honestly tell me they've never tried. You will fail. It's just part of life. And
Yeah.
if you don't fall and fail, you can't succeed. You can't grow because you can't take the punches, like I just discussed before. You can't take the punches. You can't give the punches.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, failing. So I started a carpet cleaning company, and I think that what I've been able to do, let me go back. I think a lot of people get into business because they think that, man, I'm going to be able to run my own schedule. I'm going to be go to the gym when I want to. I'm going to be able to do this. And I mean, when you get in the real game of business, it is very hard. And if you don't have really thick skin and you can't take a tremendous amount of pressure, you're going to buckle. And that's just the truth. I think a lot of people get into business thinking that it's going to be, I don't have to work for anybody. I don't have to be accountable to anybody. That's the furthest from the truth that you could get, right? It's actually, now the stakes are higher. You got to manage yourself. But I thought that was interesting. But I started with the carpet cleaning company. So I, built that up to a couple $1 million, was doing pretty well with it. And then the way you talked about taking risk, I have tried and failed many different aspects of business. I remember the reason I got into water damage, which, I have pure clean carpet cleaning, I have pure dry restoration. But the way that I got into water damage was a guy came to me and he said, "Hey, you're doing a good job running this carpet cleaning company. Here's the deal. I don't like being a business owner. I don't like the responsibilities it comes with, but I like the water damage job itself. But being a leader and having all these employees is not my gig." Long story short, I wound up acquiring him. I bought his company and I said, "Well, I'm a leader. I'll take on that pressure. Let's do this." So water damage started, and listen to this, man. This is again the universe trying to take your legs out. This dude comes in and we had a clash. We had a clash of integrity and respect values. We had a clash of core values. My core values did not align. I did a poor job of figuring that out at the beginning. But this dude came in at 3 a.m. with a U-Haul truck about 4 months into me having acquired the company, loaded up all the equipment and took off. I later found out that he had a lot of debt with the Department of Revenue, and I got burdened with all his debt, like $170,000 worth of debt that I didn't know about. And so when he left, the guys that he brought over with that company, well, they all left. They left too. Everybody left overnight. But what I still had was the phone number and myself, and a little bit of equipment left over that he didn't wind up grabbing. So talk about tough times, man. I was running the carpet cleaning company, which at that stage was I was highly involved, right? But then it was take every water damage call that comes in, go out, run the job, scope the job, estimate the job, do all the demo on the job, do the dry out, invoice the job, talk to the adjuster, all while running the carpet cleaning business. And I did that for a couple of years. And I was working probably 18 hours a day, all joking aside, to get to where I'm at. So yeah, that's what I meant by, if you don't have a real grit and a lot of perseverance, there's a lot the universe will throw at you to push you off, but you got to push through. So,
and that's why I think a lot of people, a lot of entrepreneurs, no matter what business you're in, have a tough time succeeding. They don't have the grit like you just described. They don't have that discipline, that backbone, that being able to take the punch. They don't have that ability to grow it. We both have a common person we know. I think you probably know him a little better, Mike Aguilera here in New Jersey. And
Yeah.
Mike is a guy that came. What I really respect about Mike is him and his partner came from nothing. These guys were digging ditches to run electrical lines in New Jersey to build up what is an iconic business here in New Jersey. I mean, if you don't know Gold Medal and you live in New Jersey, you don't live in New Jersey. It's impossible. Their trucks. I mean, they've since sold the company, but I mean, I have his book right here. I mean, he's a brilliant guy, and he did it from scratch. Those people I really respect. People like you, people like him. You know, you came from nothing. You learned how to take those punches. You learned how to take that grit and build back from it. And you didn't allow anything to get in your way. Instead of worrying about how big the mountain is and how you're going to, oh man, that's a big mountain in front of me. I don't know what I'm going to do here. I skill the motherfucker. Don't worry about what you can't do. You just do it. And that's that core principle, that core strategy, that core, I don't know, just belief in your life that got you to where it was. You didn't get there by accident, man. If you didn't have those core things in there, you can't teach that. That's not something somebody has. Success is in your mind, and you don't believe you won't succeed. You don't believe that it can't happen. You're willing to go through whatever you got to do to get there, but you know you got to get there. You don't worry about what you can't. You blow it back off. Persistence. It's a great word for it.
Yeah, you got to have no question in your mind. I think you're right. There's got to be zero backstep. There's got to be zero. I mean, let's be honest. As business owners, we all have that moment where we say, "Man, like my company's, quite large now, and I'm good now. My mindset's very, very good. I feel dangerous right now, like professionally. You know what I mean? But I also quit drinking, and I made some life decisions to get me there. But every business owner will sit there and be like, this is over my head. It's gotten too big. I didn't graduate high school. I'm a fraud. You know what I'm saying? All the guilt, all the negative talk starts coming in, and you just got to slam that door and make sure that you're feeding your brain with the right content. But yeah, I mean, today, I started talking about failing and stuff like that for the listeners. It's like, you gotta try new things. I started something called pure refinishing. I was like, we're getting into hardwoods. I'm gonna start a hardwood refinishing company. I bought the trucks. I wrapped the trucks. I had my guys, my salesperson. And here we go. Boom, we're in the hardwood business. It fucking failed, man. It was a big failure. It just didn't go well. It wasn't the right time. I closed it down. I took my licking and I moved on. I got Pure Dry up and running. And the next thing to come was Pure Dry construction. Boy, construction's a tough biz.
Oh yeah.
So now today, and then I started Pure Order Systems, and that's its own thing. But some things work and some things don't. You just need to know when it's right to pull out and when it's time to double down. And that intuition is just, you got to trust that intuition and have mentors and have other business people you can talk to and bounce it off of them. Because one thing I won't deny, I've had a lot of trainers, man. I've hired, I spare no expense when it comes to personal and professional development. I've hired many coaches, simultaneous coaches, trainers. I'm part of the entrepreneur organization of Seattle. I joined their whole board system. I'm constantly trying to build a big team around me, but so you can't do it alone. You got to have people you can talk to. Coaches, yeah, pay that money, dude. Hire the right coach. I've hired the wrong coaches too. But.
Oh, we all have. We've all spent the money to learn the lesson, but it ended up being a very cheap lesson in the end, because if you had spent it all the way through, you would have went, well, that's a lousy prize. Wouldn't have liked that too much. In the background behind me, I have a bookshelf. That is not that bookshelf I often joke about. I says that is probably the most expensive bookshelf most people will ever see in their life. And what do you mean by it's an expensive bookshelf? I says there's probably $150,000 sitting on that bookshelf back there in information.
What are you reading right now? What
am I reading right now?
Yeah.
I am actually rereading. Well, there's an old book called Thick Face Blackheart that I have right here, but I'm rereading The Thank You Economy from Gary Vaynerchuk right now. Obviously, big Gary V fan. I agree with much of what Gary is right on many things when it comes to you have to have that grit, you have to have that drive, that motivation, but you have to have some structure, some real discipline, some real strategy behind him. I'm a big fan of another guy named Jay Abraham. I've probably bought probably $25,000 worth of that stuff is Jay Abraham stuff. And Jay is the most brilliant business strategist I have ever listened to. And I've studied a lot of them. And I've been studying him for, God, probably 15, 20 years now. And he's never ceases to amaze me. And I mean, I go to bed listening to Jay Abraham's stuff. So I'm a fanboy, if you want to call it, of Jay Abraham, because he is, I mean, I think he's the most brilliant business mind on the planet. It's just my own personal belief. But there's a lot of stuff behind it. But without implementing that stuff, without taking those strategies and growing them, you wouldn't do it. For instance, in the podcasting world, I have a coach. I work with a guy named Pat Flynn. Pat Flynn is a very popular podcaster. He's got millions and millions and millions of 50 million, 100 million downloads, has an amazing course. I spent money on the most expensive podcasting course you could buy, including mentoring, which means I wrote a big fucking check.
Do it, man. Yeah.
But I've written big checks to other people for different things. I felt Pat was the man, and Pat is, by the way. If you want to learn podcasting, that is the dude to learn it from, in my opinion. There's a lot of great guys out there, but that's it. But write the check and be done with it and say this is what it is, because I was not an expert podcaster. I'm still not an expert podcaster. Every single time I'm learning it. One of the things that makes especially a business owner good is you can listen. So you say something that triggers me in a good way to ask you a question back on something that our listeners probably want to hear. And that's the real gift for podcasting, is listen to it. Most people that will listen to this won't watch this. Most people listen to this. I'll have this on a nice little edited recording. It'll go on Buzzsprout. It'll go to all the platforms. That's what I do it for. I come from the age where I didn't really watch TV. When I was growing up, we had a little black and white TV, little tiny 13-inch black and white TV. Sat in like the corner, had to put the big rabbit ears on it to watch. We didn't have cable. I have cable till I think I was almost out of the house by the time my family had cable. And you had to go with what you had. So it was AM radio, listen to talk radio, listen to all these iconic people like Howard Stern. I have Howard Stern's microphone right here. Did I need to have Howard Stern's $400 microphone? No, I wanted his fucking microphone. So I decided this is what I'm going to have. It doesn't make me speak any differently, but it gives me inspiration to get somewhere, because to me, he's the greatest voice in radio of all time. That's just, he's brilliant, and he was brilliant for what he did, and he found his niche. He found it. And believe me, you talk about a guy with obstacles. I mean, read his past, what he overcame. I mean, the shit that was thrown at him is uncanny. However, he never stopped. He said, all right, this station doesn't like it. Fuck it. I'll go to another station. I'll do another thing. That's fine. I mean, and that's what made him brilliant, is saying, I'm not for everybody, but I'm for somebody. Turns out there's hundreds of millions of people across the world that he's for, because he decided to make the difference. That was something. It was his strategy. It was what he wanted to do. It was, again, he came from, getting kicked 1,000 times, getting kicked from the time he was in high school, getting his ass kicked every single day, to being the greatest voice of all time on the radio. Most successful by far. I mean, he's worth Oprah money, and he's not on TV. So it's think about that. It's craziness. But the grit and determination it requires, a business requires from somebody to grow and to build and to maintain. You brought up something before. You're at a certain point in life where you have it. You have a good dream team behind you. You have good employees, good associates. You have good people around you, which is key. Good people around you, not just your staff, but good people in your life that are helping you maintain it. And that's how you keep it all together, because you have that good, I think Howard Partridge calls it community. And it's true. It's the right community around you. That's how you can grow. If somebody's constantly bagging on you every single day and saying, you can't do this, you can't do this, spouse, wife, friends, family, make a change, man. It's your decision to change. My first marriage didn't work out, and we generally got along for the most part, but it wasn't the right thing. And sometimes you're going to make decisions in life that are not always the right thing, but you're going to make a lot of decisions if you keep going through that are the right thing for you, but never change the course. Something else real quick that you talked about is giving something enough time to fail or to grow. Hardwood finishing is a rough business. I knew how to do it. I knew that I did not want to do it with my company very quickly because it is very, very true. I have a guy here that is unbelievable, but that's all he does. And people call me and probably your business, hey, I need my wood floor refinish. Nah, I gotta give Dave Beaton, he'll do it. He's the best. You're gonna pay out your ass, but he is the best. That floor will look like glass when you're done. Because
Yeah.
that's what Dave does. If you want a cheap wood floor refinisher with 1,000 headaches, and once the urethane is poured on that floor, you're looking at all the imperfections and you're crying in the middle of the night and you can't get the guy to call you back, that's what you get. You want a top of the line guy. You can't go cheap on that stuff. That is a hard, hard business, but you gave it time to make it grow. You gave it time to try and you put the effort out. You bought the truck, you spent a substantial investment, but you gave it everything you had to make it succeed. And sometimes things don't. And sometimes things like your water damage division and other businesses did.
Yeah. If I could give people advice, I know a lot of people listening, maybe in the carpet cleaning industry, maybe the restoration industry. And I think number one, first and foremost, you got to build $1 million brand. You got to start with the branding. You've got to invest money in the brand because everything is connected to that brand. And so a lot of the time I look at their website, I look at their logo, their truck wraps, their uniforms. I'm like, dude, we got to start from scratch here, man. And when I'm working with companies, that's the first thing that we do. I say, let's get the branding dialed. Number two, and again, I'm focusing on carpet cleaning is you've got to build, I built operating manuals for everything that happens in the company. And that, trust me, everybody hates that part. I mean, it's not fun. But I mean, my CSRs, if you come into our company, there's a manual that thick, and it shows you exactly what to say, how to say it. We have 86%. Last month, our call center closed at 90% as a department. 90% of the phone calls that came
That's
in,
beautiful.
they converted. And you've got to have, document the systems of how to do that. But number three, outside of documenting procedures, is you've got to develop a sales system that's tried, true. And I'm not going to hold any secrets here. Everybody knows by this point, hopefully, that a tiered pricing system, good, better, best, is what you must put in place. You must. It gets into the psychology of persuasion. If you present a high price to somebody and that price kind of sinks into their mind a little bit, well, then the next price that you present is not going to seem anywhere near as expensive. And so oftentimes we present the option of replacing their carpet. Hey, just so you know, we do replace carpet as well as, obviously clean and all this. And based on the measurements you have, the cost to replace your carpets would be about $7,000. And we always like to give those as options to people, just so you know. Well, now when I tell her how much it's going to cost to do a restorative cleaning and protect them and make them look like new, and it's $2,300, that doesn't sound as painful as the carpet replacement. So the point is, you've got to have a sales system. My guys go into the house with a sales binder, very beautiful artwork, very, very dialed in presentation. And it's mapped out, man. These guys know exactly what to say, when to say it, how to say it. And it gives me a very calculated result. I know my job average is 512. Our job average is 512 right now. And I can, our gold and platinum rating is at 68%. So that means 68% of customers are cleaning and applying protector and doing that upper echelon of cleaning service. And I think what a lot of guys do wrong is they start at the bottom. They say, because they get nervous, they don't want to give a big price. So they start at the bottom and they say, hey, so to clean your carpets, it's X. It's $200. And then I can do protector and it would be this much. Then I can do protector and sanitizer. And it's this much. And it's all wrong. So those are two things: document your procedures, create a sales system that's really engineered for success. And then the law of reciprocity, which you want to create a reciprocal thing. So when my guys go back, I wish I had one here, but when my guys go into the home, they give a really nice gift back to the client. They say, hey, listen, my name's Ben. I'm a healthy home expert with Pure Clean, and I just want to really thank you for allowing me in your home today. My focus with you today is to give you a 5-star experience. So if at any point through this job, if you don't feel like you're receiving a 5-star experience, I want you to just stop me and let me know. Because at the end of this, I'll be asking you for a 5-star review and I want to make sure I earned it. Does that make sense? And they're like, yeah. Okay, cool. So the first thing is I got a gift for you. And I want to give you this gift. It's compliments of Pure Clean, our family, our team of Pure Clean. And in that bag, there's a bunch of cool gifts. And, I wish I could show you this, but when you start off an engagement like that, where you're like, number one, telling them you're going to give them a 5-star experience. Number two, doing the law of reciprocity, giving them a free gift, the odds of them going with your recommendation just went up by, I think the measurements to do about 50%. The odds swing in your favor that they're going to go through recommendation. And I can go on and on and on of how we engineered the sales system there, but this is where guys have to focus their attention. They're focused on Valpaks and just getting the phone to ring, and they're missing so much money. And they don't realize you can be a millionaire. I'm not saying that you can generate $1 million in sales. I'm saying you personally can be a millionaire, $1 million in the bank, owning a carpet cleaning company if you play your cards right. And so people must do this. I'll show you one thing. So I don't know if you can see this. So this is for my water damage company. Thank you. This gets sent to them as soon as we finish their water damage job.
Right.
Does any other water damage company do this? No, nobody does this. So you open it up. It says, thank you, it says, thank you. You're the most important person in our business. There's a thank you card from Pure Dry Restoration. There's a gift card to Pure Clean Carpet Clean for $50. It's a letter from me saying, thank you for allowing us to serve you. It's a 5-star review card. Write us a 5-star review. We're going to donate money to Make-the-Wish. There's a bag of cookies in here with our company information. So the other thing, moving into my next recommendation, is create a customer experience that people will remember and talk about. Because if you don't, you're nobody. You're nothing. You're a commodity. You can be easily wiped out by a guy like me. So that's just a few tips.
It's some really good tips. So on this podcast, I've had two guys that have both worked for Disney. One's Vance Morris. He's also in the carpet cleaning business. He's outside of Maryland, but he has, matter of fact, he sent me this. I got the mug back here and a little notepad and, actually write shit, Yeah. So I use it because to me, I can jog. My penmanship is awful. It makes a doctor's penmanship look brilliant compared to what I got. But I write down little notes because it's easier for me to, look at certain things when it comes to it. But Vance worked for Disney as an Imagineer, senior Imagineer. So he was setting up projects and stuff like that. I also had a gentleman named John Walsh Jr. John Walsh Jr. was the third in line from the executive VP of Disney World. In fact, MSN stole him away to go and run their entire company before COVID. And I had him on. He wrote an incredible book, and it's geared more toward toward employee mentality, but it gears toward everything else too as well when it comes to business. And the entire thing is experience. One of the things he talked about, and I thought I knew, I understand when you get to Disney World, from the second you walk through the gates, John, I'm asking him, that your entire experience has been managed for you before anything else. And he said that that would be wrong. Oh, okay, cool. I thought I did my due diligence, but it's always good to know you're wrong. Nice. So tell me, John, what is it? He says, from the time you book that shit online to the time you get home, it's managed. You book something through Disney, whether it's through a travel agent or through Disney World, from the time you book it online to the time you leave, get in your car, get in the plane, arrive at the Orlando airport, everything is managed for you. You are in our care and custody. Not to sound like you're a prisoner, but you're in the care and custody of Disney. And we are the best at experience in the world.
Yeah.
And that is their, Starbucks experience. Why would people pay more money for a cup of coffee that's that? Because they feel it's worth more. You talked about a commodity. I won't hold you up because we can go on and on forever here, but commodity, when you put advertising dollars, and everybody talks about, let me send postcards, and not that postcards don't work, because actually they do if they're tailored correctly and they're sequential and they're everything. But if you do what everybody else does, you're going to get what everybody else has got. If you do exactly what other people do to copy it, thinking that's a recipe for success, it's actually a recipe for disaster because you've had no personal impact into it. I'm not saying you can't learn something from somebody else. I'm not saying you can't learn a skill or an advertising trade, but why are you going and fishing in the pond where they just dumped all the fish?
Hmm.
Yeah, that's great. You're all going to catch a little minnow or a little tiny trout and you're going to get your little prize when I'm going to go down and catch salmon down the street because nobody's there. I'm not worried about what other people are going to do. I'm focused on the salmon. I'm focused on the big fish. I don't
Yeah,
care if I got to spend all day out there to catch one salmon. Still a
you're
salmon.
you're small, you
Yeah, I
know.
mean that's you can't worry about the little things, the crumbs, the low-hanging fruit. Shit, yes, that is easy. But it's easy. Why would you choose easy? If it's easy, then everybody can copy it. Then like you just said, you come in town. Listen, when I came to here in New Jersey, I bought New Jersey's best carpetcleaning.com. It wasn't even called that company. That's the domain name I bought.
Mm,
Then 2 years later, I decided to buy the domain newjerseysbest.com. It's a big fucking deal. Now you bought New Jersey's Best, could be New Jersey's Best anything. That could be New Jersey's Best. Now we're doing paver cleaning because we got into it last year, which is extremely profitable. People have a lot of pavers here and they have put sand. So we go out and we clean it and sand it. Like water damage kind of profitable. It's got its own thing, but it's diversified in the correct way doing that. But now it opened the door where I can have 5 or 6 different divisions to this company instead of just one. I haven't tailored to one thing. And the best is a pretty good search term, by the way, just so anybody needs to know about that. Anything best is a pretty good search term, especially on the East Coast. I would imagine anywhere in the country.
no
But
doubt.
am I the best at what I do? Hell no. I got guys around me that are great. I'm just very good at promoting that I'm the best at what I do.
Mhm.
And I think that people, yes, you need to strive to be great. If you don't strive to be great, you won't be. You won't be successful. But if you strive to it and you want to back it up and make it happen, you could do that too as well. Ben, I really appreciate your stories today. I mean, it's not at all where I thought this was going to go. I had no idea of that in your background, but it gives a lot of people, including myself, real perspective and hope about what you can accomplish in your life if you put your mind to it, if you really put your drive to it, if you decide to have people in your life, a good community, like again, Howard Partridge has said, a good system in place. Your entire thing is built around the customer's perspective. And that is a win to me because they're the ones that deserve it. I'm writing a book right now, and the editor just got back to me called Welcome to the Review Society, Between 18 and 80, Why They Matter More Now Than Ever. Long title, but it's simple. We did the first year and a half review. We probably captured about 30 reviews in the first year and a half. Now, I'm not even 3 years in business with this particular company, but I'm at just shy of 350 right now. Now, what that does, people think, well, what's the big deal if this company's got thousands? Well, it means I get 3 to 5 calls every single week minimum from people saying, I want to hire you. I don't need a price.
Reputation's undisposable.
It's undisposable. And they are taking the reputation from somebody they don't know, most likely will never know. But the fact that they took the time to say or write something about you. Now, I credit Sotellus. I use that, and they're our sponsor, and I love using them. I use them in my own business. They're phenomenal guys, and that has really helped our business grow. It's just capturing video reviews, capturing things right then and there, sending them out immediately. It's helped us out a lot. It's kept a system of growing. So one of our niches has been reputation. People don't even question it. If I can't get the great results in their house that I even want to get out of them, they're like, then it can't be done. This is the best it's got to be because he did it. They did it. And I only got a couple of trucks running here, but it's just the perception that you are this company that is over delivering. And we do go the extra mile because I don't want your money if we can't produce a result. You're not paying me for effort. You're paying me to show up and actually do something right. And that's how people like you succeed. That's how people anywhere on this planet that have succeeded and do continue to succeed, obviously do. So,
Yeah.
and thank you so much. I appreciate your time. If people listening to this need to get a hold of you, what is the best way they can do it? And I, I just appreciate you getting here today because, dude, I know you were covered in a snowstorm. I think at one point you couldn't even get off the mountain. You were trying to message me saying, "Dude, can we put this thing off? You got to hold up." But
I'm on LinkedIn. My name's Ben Surdi, Surdi. I'm on Facebook. I'm relatively active on my social media on there. Just doing a lot of motivational stuff and, just helping get people out of what was a very tough year. I think mentally people took a lot of damage the last year. But you can find me on there, and then, my email is bensurdi@gmail.com. And I'm always happy to talk to people and bounce ideas. So I appreciate you having me on the show, and onward and upward.
awesome, my friend. Will you be at the experience this year?
I believe so. Yeah, I think I'm going to head out there.
Yeah, I think I'll be there. I'm going. I have friends that have talked me into it, and Larry just said, "Hey, bring your shit, bring your stuff. Because you're gonna have some people." Because I had him on here. He's great, and I was like, you know what? That's not a bad. I was just going to go as a guest. I have my own cleaning restoration firm. Well, not disaster restoration anymore, but cleaning firm dealing with, hiring clients and stuff here in Jersey Shore. But I was just going to go to check it out. I've never been to one. And
yeah,
bring your stuff, man.
Maybe I'll
Bring your
see
stuff. So I'm looking forward to it. Ben, thank you again, my friend. Appreciate it. And guys, again, please don't hesitate to reach out to Ben. Realize he is a very, very busy guy, and he will get back to you at some point in time. And thank you, man. That's fucking great shit.
All right, man.
Thanks, brother. You too. Bye.